Stephen Booth is Director of Policy and Research at Open Europe and joins us. Stephen, good to see you. You kind of look at this and you go, where do they start, right? You've got the US-China trade war. You've got a battle between Japan and South Korea, which is only hotting up. Germany on the brink of the recession. You've got the Italian political crisis. And, of course, you've just got President Trump himself. It's a tough one to think of 2 days, how to cover all of that.
Yes, you said there's a whole lot on the agenda, and also sitting here in London, you've also got behind the scenes the UK's relationship with the EU is also in the balance, and you can see the British Prime Minister is sort of torn between two stools in some regards. He wants to clearly continue negotiations with the European Union. He's made efforts with France and Germany last week.
And can I just just to remind people that there was in the last couple of days. First, it was Angela Merkel of Germany, and then President Macron yesterday. And I have to say, right. Credit where credit due. There was a lot of poo-pooing this new Prime Minister, but he's come back with a little bit of better mood music, hasn't he?
Yes, I think the mood music is a bit better. I think there's a signal that perhaps we might start to move on to some negotiations, but I think the fundamentals are still quite difficult. Both sides have got pretty tough positions. The UK is effectively insisting that the EU removes this so-called backstop for Northern Ireland before we start talking about how we resolve the withdrawal via a deal. But the EU insists that it won't talk about so-called alternative arrangements for solving the Irish border until the UK basically agrees to some form of backstop.
So we know, and I just mentioned it, that Prime Minister Johnson is going to have a sideline meeting with President Trump. And given we've got, just over 2 months that the EU is supposedly leaving the EU, that's kind of important, right? I mean, because they seem to get along very well, these two. And I'm assuming that is important under the guise of Brexit.
Yes, I think that's true. I think any Conservative government post-Brexit was certainly going to look at how it can deepen its relationship with the United States. There's obviously talk about a trade agreement. I think a lot of these things are probably going to be a bit further down the road than people might let on.
Right.
But I think the Prime Minister does have a delicate balancing act in sort of looking two ways to some degree in terms of trying to get a relationship with the European Union sorted in the next week or so, but also looking to deepen that relationship with the US in the future.
Yeah, and talking about deepening the relationship, there seems to be a sense in Europe where, certainly for French President Macron, sort of like, if we leave, the UK leaving the EU is all about the UK saddling up even more. It's either, with the US, it's either them or us kind of feeling.
Well, I think that's a potential danger for the UK. I think it needs to try to avoid that scenario where it has to choose between Washington or Brussels. The UK has traditionally taken a more European stance on things like climate change, which is being discussed this weekend. But I think on things like sort of global defence and NATO is probably more Atlanticist than the centre of gravity in the European Union. So we've always treaded that balance. That's going to be probably slightly more difficult post-Brexit.
Yeah.